And welcome into the final Spits and Suds post-game of 2024, or maybe you're listening as it's 2025. And if that's the case, to each and every one of you and your families, a very happy new year. I'm Gavin Spittle of 1053 The Fan, a tight one at the AAC, and the Stars get it done. How about the Stars? 6-3-1 in their past 10. They're quietly putting some good hockey together. The problem is so are the Avalanche. They won tonight, so they've won 5 straight. So the Central Division, some real good hockey happening. Let's talk about this one. Let's talk about some Stars news as we kind of wrap things up on 2024 and head into 2025. Real good team coming in, kind of up and coming, the Ottawa Senators. And anytime a Tkachuk comes to town, look out, baby. Had to see his brother earlier this year, and now we get Brady coming down from Ottawa. So let's start before the game. The news of Matt Dumba being activated and in the lineup tonight. Lian Bischel officially, not paperwork-wise like it usually is for salary cap purposes, sent down to Texas. Now, the Texas Stars swept in Manitoba, and they're ending their road trip. So Bischel will get his first action on Friday in Cedar Park as the Stars host the Tucson Roadrunners. But let's start with the positive. Thought Matt Dumba played well tonight, had some really good legs, fresh out there, some nice energy. He was actually the only one on two-on-ones that happened, and I thought he played both well, so really didn't notice too much of Dumba, and that's a good thing when you don't notice defensive defensemen, and that's what Dumba is now. The offensive game just isn't what it once was. That's not a bad thing at all. It's interesting because this, to me, is kind of a telltale sign of the coaching staff in their confidence in the veteran. So Dumba comes back. He's been out for a bit, and he had 17-15 of ice time. So he had more time on ice and more shifts than Ilya Lyubushkin and Nils Lundqvist. So it wasn't necessarily an ease in, and we're going to protect you. He was a big part of tonight's game. Pretty interesting. Usually that first game back, it's time on ice is usually the 5th or 6th defenseman, but Dumba got some quality minutes tonight. But overall, and I think this is really interesting because many of us think this. I know David Castillo thinks this. I just can't, and I don't want to be overly critical of this franchise, but I think Lian Bischel makes your top 6 better. I just think there was a lot of improvement and the confidence was growing. And Pete DeBoer actually alluded to that after the game the other night, telling Robert Tiffin that he thought that was Bischel's best game against Chicago. So, it's one of those things where I know the timing's not right, but it just goes back to the Stars slow playing their rookies. Now, Jake Ottinger, they did this with. Jason Robertson, they did this with. Thomas Harley, they did this with. Maverick Bork played all of last year in the AHL, basically. And now Bischel. So this is also about contracts. Dumba's on a 2-year deal. You have 7 Stars D-men on one-way guarantees. We forget about Brendan Smith, who I'm expecting we'll see a game coming up to get him some work. So you have him on the roster. You have Dumba, you have Lundqvist, you have Lyubushkin, you have Harley, you have Heiskanen, and you have Lindell, all on one-way guaranteed contracts. But it is interesting because the play was there if the Stars wanted to do it. Maybe a little cap finagling, but if they wanted to activate the LTIR to free up some cap space, they could have went with 8 defensemen or naturally send a forward down. So this could have been done. However, they wanted to send Bischel down. Um, they still feel as though he, needs probably a little bit more consistency. They want to get him a lot of ice time in Texas. But personally, I saw no reason to put him down. And if I'm being honest, I thought he could start the year in Dallas. But once again, you went into this training camp with 7 defensemen. So unless something happened to one of the D men, he was not going to make this team. And it kind of reminds me with the cap constraints, and I'm not going to second guess the 2-time general manager of the year, but I do think sometimes the Stars play it too cautiously. Remember a couple of years back when Anton Hudobin was signed? You started to think to yourself, like, okay, I felt as though Jake Ottinger was going to be ready, and he proved to be ready. And that turned out not to be a great contract for Hudobin. Basically paid and paid pretty well based on what happened in that Stanley Cup run. He was magnificent, but we all kind of had in the back of our mind that maybe Anton Hudobin is just a career backup that went on a roll. And he could go on those roles and showed that he could over his career, specifically late in his career. So just the slow play, I would like them, and maybe it's this year with Maverick Bourque and using his salary, because Bourque hasn't necessarily panned out, although he's been playing better lately. They could have brought in a veteran, but they figured Maverick Bourque, it was time for him to be in the lineup. So I just think that, we'll see Bischel probably sooner than later. But we don't want to discount Matt Dumba tonight because Matt Dumba played well. Like I said, I thought he had good energy. I thought he played well defensively. We didn't necessarily notice him a lot on the ice, and that is not a bad thing. Defensemen are like defensive backs in football. When you don't hear about them a lot, that means they're making the plays necessarily. And defensively, I thought the Stars played pretty well, specifically because this game was like a racetrack. This was up and down. And the Stars didn't allow a lot of chances compared to what the Stars had on Buffalo. And that leads me to my next point. Really nice goaltending on both ends. Ukko-Pekka Luukkonen was outstanding. That save on Stankoven, point blank coming across the net, was absolutely a thing of beauty. It's fascinating when you look at him, and he's only 25, and you watch these 2 games against the Stars because he was terrific in Buffalo and he was terrific tonight. And then you look at him statistically and you say, okay, maybe it'll come together because he is so young. And Buffalo is one of those teams that you're like, is it going to happen this year? And there are a few teams in the NHL that year after year, you're like, okay, this is the year, right? This is the year. Now, we do have a team that we say that about that is right now a playoff team in Ottawa. And what did they do? They got Linus Ullmark in the offseason from Boston, signed him to a contract, and they have a goalie now, and look what's happening. So it'll be interesting to see if he becomes a good goaltender because he makes terrific saves, real nice size. Because if he can put together a string for Buffalo, I think Buffalo has some real good potential. Remember, Sabres came in winning 3 straight tonight. So Lindy Ruff did have them playing good hockey. But a goals against under 900, a save percentage, nearly 3 goals against. It's just kind of fascinating because he was the story tonight in a loss. Casey DeSmith getting the job done. DeSmith's really had a nice bounce back after giving up 6 in Chicago. Remember that disaster game? I think it was November 27th. Well, since then, in 3 full games now, he's only given up 5 goals. Plus, he had that one period of work where he came in to give Ottinger a rest, and Ottinger didn't look that good that night against Toronto. So he's played 10 solid periods a row of hockey. So Casey DeSmith doing a real nice job in the backup department. Some other tidbits. Buffalo has a real solid power play. When you look at that D-core and offensively what they can do, specifically when the other team is a man down, and then some of the firepower they have on offense, they are a very good power play team. But the Stars countered that with no penalty minutes tonight. That's a massive reason, and it's not going to be talked about much. But when you're listening to this, this is a key component to the game. They did not allow Buffalo to get that man advantage. And Buffalo has shown that they can take advantage of that. Like I said, a very good power play. What it also does when you are not a man down is it keeps your lines intact, kind of keeps your momentum moving forward because you don't have to switch up lines. It also rests some of your power play. They don't have to work as hard because you're not a man down. So your penalty killers like Lindell, like Heiskanen, and some others, Blackwell, they don't necessarily have to be out there, so they can concentrate. So there's just so many small nuances and tidbits that happen when you take a lot of penalties that aren't really talked about. So sometimes you'll see like the Stars killed 4 penalties. Well, what else did that do toward the game? Did it tire the defenseman out late in the game? So I thought the Stars looked really, really fresh tonight. Seems as though that foot is healed and Jason Robertson is back to game strength, feeling much better. 7 points in his last 5 games. Terrific game tonight for Robertson, a goal and 2 assists tonight. That line was really good. Rope Hintz also had a good game, netted the first goal of the game. It seems as though we're seeing a more consistent Rope Hintz and Jason Robertson as of late. That's a massive lift. Massive lift. If you look at why the Stars are 6-3-1 in their last 10, I think that's one of the big reasons. The first line playing much better than it did earlier in the season. I thought the captain, Jamie Benn, was terrific tonight. This is one of those games where you're not necessarily going to see it on the score sheet, but probably saved a goal early by lifting a stick on a back check. And then he had some high quality scoring chances. Thought he played really well defensively as well. And just like kind of causing a lot of problems, just had some good chances, real heads up play. So for his paycheck, and we do tend, and I'm guilty of it as well, tend to look at the paychecks and say, okay, paycheck should equal 70, 80, 90 points. But in this case, he is putting it up scoring wise. He's tied for 4th on the team in points with 25. I know it may not seem that way. A lot of assists, but he's also been terrific in the faceoff circle. He's just become a solid 2-way player, very similar to Tyler Seguin, where the game has their game has evolved. So wanted to give the captain some credit tonight. He's been playing real well as of late. Okay, a couple of your questions to end off 2024. Christopher DeHardy says, Stars win, Team USA beats Canada. Yeah, stick tap to Team USA, currently playing in the World Juniors, and the Jets and Vegas both lose. Yeah, but the Avs did beat the Jets, so it's one of those things where we will take a Jets loss, but we don't like it when the Avs win. As Ice Cube once said, today was a good day. Yeah, in fact, Stephen Meserve of 100 Degree Hockey pointed out that Texas wins 3-1 at Manitoba. The Idaho Steelheads, the ECHL team of the Dallas Stars. Mixed emotions on this one. They beat the Allen Americans by a score of 6-2, and the Stars obviously 4-2 over Buffalo. So it was actually a sweep for the Dallas Stars organization tonight. And USA gets the win in World Juniors. World Juniors is so much fun to watch. I believe Switzerland also advanced. So That's pretty interesting. Zach Bradford, for a team that has prided themselves on rolling 4 lines, these injuries are forcing Pete DeBoer to switch that up. With that said, these bottom lines really put some pressure on the Sabres tonight. Yeah. He's not putting the puck in the net, but Oscar Beck seems to have found a home, and using his size to really provide some space and win some puck battles in the corners. So I think Beck, Steele's been playing well. I think Stankoven should have had a goal tonight. That was a terrific save. But, it's one of those things. It's going to happen. When he has opportunities like that, I thought he was real good tonight. I thought there was a lot of hustle on Stankoven's part. And, one of the things that won this game was not only staying out of the penalty box, but I would love to see the Stars do this more often. Nice deep forecheck, utilizing their speed to get in there. And if you look at, minus the Lindell empty net goal, but the 2 goals prior to that, I thought they came on Buffalo defensive turnovers. They were terrific play. Yes, Harley with the beautiful pass and the tip in by Wyatt Johnston. That's absolutely gorgeous. But how did it happen? It was a turnover by the Buffalo Sabres on defense. And that is because the Stars were deep forechecking and they were forcing mistakes by the Sabres. So a big key to the game that I wanted to mention. Sebastian says, our team is a mess and a blessing at the same time. It's called Texas hockey. I mean, it can be a roller coaster ride at times, right? Crow Wi-Fi, DeSmith's mask is outstanding. Boy, that was a beauty tonight, right? Huh? Oh, man, do I absolutely love it. By the way, stick tap to Brian Ray and Brent Severin in between periods, donning the tuxes. And man, boy, did they look good. So, yeah, DeSmith's mask, absolutely outstanding. Crow Wi-Fi goes on to say Johnston's goal was so Pavelski-like. Yes, it absolutely was very Pavelski-like, and fitting to end 2024, because hard to believe, but we actually, this will be the official last year that we'll see Joe Pavelski. Because we did see him a great deal in 2024, not only the back half of the regular season, but that deep Western Conference final playoff run. So, yeah, it's fun to look back. And I thought Victory Plus did a real nice job of looking back at some of 2024's best Stars moments. So, boy, guys, this has been an absolutely beast of a year. Thank you guys for making us the top Dallas Stars NHL local podcast, originating right here in Dallas, Fort Worth. That's something we've dreamed about, and our goal is to make it even better in 2025. I think we were nearly 50% growth year over year. We'll have to look at the official numbers, but that kind of stuff is amazing. And the best part is, as far as what we're seeing, and part of it has to do with 2 Western Conference finals, the excitement of this team. So a lot has to go into it. But for instance, I encourage you, either tonight when you're listening to this podcast or tomorrow, go to starsthoughts.com, run by our friend Robert Tiffin. And he has a terrific article on Lian Bischel and the reasons why he might have been sent down. And he goes into great detail with quotes. And this is free of charge. And it's so cool that we have Robert Tiffin covering this team, Mike Heika covering this team. We have just various podcasts now. It wasn't too long ago that Sean Shapiro and I were talking on this podcast, where basically there weren't many reporters in town talking and covering the Dallas Stars. And now I think we have more than we probably some of the most in the franchise history. And like I said, it comes down to victories, but at the same time, it's great to see that hockey is growing in DFW, and you guys are a major part of it. So thank you for a wonderful 2024, and we'll be back 2025 with more great podcasts. And I'm Gavin Spittle of 105.3 The Fan. Happy New Year and have a great day, everyone.